Hey guys, it's Sophie. So I'm currently outside the house of the final survivor from Soldier Island. So let's go talk to Dr. Armstrong and hear about his experience. Hi Dr. Armstrong, it's nice to meet you.
Oh, hello. No, the pleasure's really all mine.
So if it's alright with you, I'd like to start off with what happened on the operating table 15 years ago and how did that affect your career?
Yes, well, 15 years ago. That's quite a long time ago. Yet, I'll never forget that night. No, well, at least the parts I remember. It's been a rough night for me, and I had just broken up with a lover. And I was very depressed, and that led to me drinking. Quite a bit. Then my pager went off, and they called me in because they had an emergency operation they needed to be done. And I was the only one of my colleagues that were available. I wasn't about to not show up and just let the poor woman die, so I went in and I attempted the surgery. Yes, I know it was I was not in the right state of mind, and I shouldn't have let myself anywhere near that operating table that night. But under the circumstances, I wasn't going to say no. I felt so guilty after I'd done that to that poor woman. Her poor family. That damn nurse should have stopped me. She knew I was under the influence. She knew I was incapable of performing that operation, but time has passed. Fortunately, but also unfortunately, that nurse never did open her mouth about that night. No one ever knew I was drunk, so that never affected my career, but some days I wish it had.
Did your past as a doctor make any of the other guests not give you full trust by the end when more and more guests began to die?
Certainly. Of course, I was the first one they accused when it came to all of the deaths that involved, medical components. The potassium cyanide, the hypodermic syringe, things like that. Because certainly no one but a doctor would carry those. In that aspect, I would see why they would accuse me. Although it definitely was not my doing. That would just be quite stupid on my part. Too obvious.
Most of the deaths were caused by something a doctor would carry with him or intentionally do without being accused of murder. Was that portrayed in the time being?
Outside of the island, yes, I do see that I would not have been accused of murder if these deaths were to have happened the way they did. But after we found out that there are indeed only 10 guests on the island, I was probably the easiest to blame.
In the duration of the time being at the island, did you trust the wrong people at any time? Do you regret any decisions or conversation that you had with the other guests?
I did. Old Judge Wargrave. I definitely should not have trusted him, nor gone along with his plan. My God, it almost got me killed. That old man confided in me, convinced me that we should fake his death together, have myself be the only one to examine his body when the time came. All so no one would suspect it was him. So he could roam around the house undetected. I should have known better. He tried to push me off a goddamn cliff. I have done all the dirty work he wanted to do. Now he wants to get rid of me? I wasn't about to let that happen so easily.
There were obviously tense moments on the island. What were they and how did you overcome them?
There was obviously so many, especially every time there was a new death. That was very shocking. A lot of tension formed. Obviously the biggest reason being that we all knew that the killer was among us. It was one of us, and we had to protect our own lives before anybody else. At night, one thing that definitely gave us a little relief was that we could lock our doors. Although, I feel after the first 2 deaths, the tension never left.
Obviously escaped the island. What methods did you use?
As more and more people started to die, I began to search the island for a quick and easy solution to leave. At the last day, I found a big piece of wood, and I traveled back to shore. And when I got to my car, I left without ever looking back.
Dr. Armstrong, for meeting with me. It was a pleasure to hear about your story and everything.
Thank you. I very much enjoyed it. I enjoyed answering your questions.